Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Ill Factor. Now, do you ever find yourself just completely frustrated about where you're at with your music career and almost to the point where you just feel like you've been banging your head on the wall? Well, I want to talk about some of the mental roadblocks that go into causing that frustration in your creative process. Now, when I first started producing music, I started it because I just had a love for music. I started producing and making my own music, and I knew someday I would want to make this a professional career one day. But when I started off, it was exactly that. It was a spark that came from a passion for music. Like many of you who are watching this video now, you're creating your own music, you're working on your craft, you're trying to start a career in music, or wherever you might be on that spectrum. You started because you had a passion for music. And initially that passion sparked into a desire to want to pursue music. But what ended up happening was it just kind of snowballed, right? That passion started from, hey, I really like music. I'd like to learn how to make my own music. So I dabbled in, getting some software or hardware drum machines and things like that. And that snowballed into, going one step after another of like, okay, now that I'm starting to learn how to do this or, make my own beats and make my own tracks, and that just kept snowballing. But what ended up happening was down the road, I would say maybe like a couple years in, I just had this breakdown. I had this, this complete roadblock, this mental roadblock of pure frustration. And that was pretty much, this question dawned on me, and that was, what am I doing? Like, how do we become successful at this? What am I doing with my passion? What am I doing with my music? And I weighed that with the reality of, well, I gotta pay bills and I have to do all these certain things, and this is reality. This is the life I'm currently in right now, and here's my passion, and this is what I would really like to do. And so how did I reconcile the two? Well, if you notice that when somebody starts a business, when somebody has an idea for a business or is stepping into the world of creating a business, they start with a business plan. It's something that allows them to create a roadmap or blueprint as to what they are trying to achieve through their business. Things in their business plan could look like, who's my audience, who's my target market, things like that. What's the need, what's the product, what's the service, what am I doing with my business to accomplish the goal of having a successful business. The thing is, starting a business takes exactly that, a business plan. But sometimes a lot of musicians, artists, DJs, producers, we dive into the passion of creating music, not necessarily having a plan. We kind of get just lost in the flow of things by just feeling out our passion, dabbling in a couple things, but never taking the time to stop and realize, where do I want to go with my music? And I know this might sound obvious, but believe it or not, this is what caused a lot of the frustration for myself. It was stopping and realizing, what am I doing here? Am I creating something? Am I trying to create a career out of this? So what I had to do was just stop for a moment and realize, where is it that I want to be? Where do I want to go with my music career? And so I had to get a piece of paper and literally write down and breaking down my goals as such. If the big picture, my big vision was, I'd like to get a Grammy one day, or I'd like to go to the Grammys one day, then how would I do that in light of my current circumstances? So let's say 5 years from now, I'd like to go to the Grammys, or that was my goal at that time. Well, then I just broke that down into smaller little goals, such as, okay, a year from now, what do I want to do? So I want to work with somebody well in the industry. So I broke that 1 year goal into smaller little goals. And then that just allowed me to just see if I was able to hold myself accountable to keeping that. But what I ended up doing was create a plan. And so that's something I want to encourage you to do today, is find out, take a moment, hit pause, and maybe you've done this recently. Kudos, awesome. I want to encourage you to keep doing that. Or maybe you haven't actually given this some thought. What you can do is just stop for a moment and paint the big picture. Now, how far is your expectancy from your reality? What I mean by that is, if you're expecting to play at a huge festival and you've just started learning how to make music here, then the distance between the two are pretty far. And so what that means is there's going to be a bigger gap there to fill, more room for disappointment when you're not finding contentment in where you're currently at right now. And so what you need to do is draw that expectancy a little bit closer to your reality, your current circumstances. So if you just started to learn how to make music, okay, start with a couple of yearly goals that can match or get you to that big event that you're trying to reach. So, just started making music, then maybe year one should be, let me work in putting out my first 5-track EP or something like that. And that's a little bit closer. And then you could just start etching, create a little ladder that can help you step to where you want to go. I'm finding many artists struggle with this mental roadblock. They're discontent where they're currently at right now because they just keep seeing the big picture and they're upset, frustrated that they're not there yet. But they've never created a clear system or a path or some kind of structure to help them get there. So it could be something as simple as just writing down a couple yearly goals and breaking those yearly goals into little segmented monthly goals, or maybe even 6-month goals or something like that. That way you can kind of keep track. How are you doing with your monthly goal? Have you reached that? Yes. And then you kind of build steam with that. And you can start saying, okay, I'm starting to see where I'm at now. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm definitely not where I used to be. And that's always a great thing and a great side of encouragement for yourself as an artist, because sometimes it could feel pretty lonely, especially bedroom producers, and you're just there and tinkering away and you're like, man, where am I really going with this? And sometimes that's exactly what we need to do, is just get a nice bird's eye view and a good perspective of where is it that you want to go. And so what I would strongly recommend is that you just take the time now to ask yourself that question: where is it that you want to go with your career? And then simply just write that down and then break that down into smaller little segmented goals so that you can have yourself held accountable to reaching each of those little goals, so that you could eventually aspire to reaching that big vision, that big destination that you're looking to get with your music career.